My own Rotary story, not anything as exciting as Roger's last week, but my own Rotary story included a number of things, and I won't go into them, but I'd been a Rotarian for about a year, actually a year and a half before I got to a district conference. I had been an officer of the club. I was a secretary 2 months after I joined, and unofficially, and then became the secretary the next year for real. As a club member, a local club, I did not fully understand what Rotary was all about. And it wasn't until I got to a district conference and got some training and found out how much Rotary does everywhere. And it made our little island projects, which seem so important, to be less significant, although they're not. They're a part of it all. And all of Rotary is small and large clubs doing things. And they're able to do this through the foundation. And as a major donor, finally, and a Bequest Society member, I think that the Rotary Foundation is the best way to spend your charitable dollars that exist anywhere. Some of them come back to us to help us. They go to other clubs. They go to around the world doing good. So I just encourage any of you who have not done so to think about adding Rotary as a beneficiary in your will. You're not going to miss it. It's a great thing to do. It will help preserve Rotary far beyond our time. And so I just encourage you to do so. It's not hard to do. I'm sure there's a lawyer in your Rotary Club or nearby that can advise you how to add a codicil to your will and include the Rotary Foundation. So I encourage you all to do that. Lee and I have decided that whatever we don't, of our children's inheritance that we don't spend, some of the rest will go to the Rotary Foundation. That's it. It's a great thing to do. Please do.
Good for you, John. I really appreciate that, and that's a fine example for the rest of us. So, words to the wise. Katora?
Thanks, Brent. John, I have a question. When you say you have decided to have a portion of your inheritance to Rotary because you believe in their principles, I'm thinking about your children, and if I was your grandchild or if I was your daughter, would I be mad if my dad gave quite a significant of his inheritance to Rotary when you know that I can purchase a home or I can travel some more? And secondly, I want to know if you set it up in such a way in a bequest system, is there a limit? Is it control?
Yes. Well, Katura, it clearly depends upon your personal circumstances. My children, Lee's and my children are fine with this, and that they are pretty much secure in their position, so they're not counting on getting an inheritance. Secondly, it is a specific, we did leave a specific amount, so that, and there should be plenty left for the kids, but Thank you.
The other part of the question is the bequest system, is it control or oh, okay. All right.
Well, the amount that we provided is limited. It's a $10,000, and that's all right now. There might be more. Roger or Diana, do you know more about what, I believe this goes into the permanent fund?
Yes, it does go into the permanent fund, but you also can specify, depending on the amount that you give. But if, for instance, you give a little more than the minimum, you can sometimes decide how you want it spent by the foundation. So in other words, if you want it to go towards, you know, the Peace Scholars Program, or if you want it specifically to go with water and sanitation. So you really can decide that, and you do also decide the amount. But yes, it does go into the permanent fund, so that it is not part of the money that is used year by year. It's not the annual fund. It builds up the corpus.
Okay, John. Well, thank you so much. Brent, I think we're gonna move right now into
Yeah, John. Again, thank you for your fine example. Howard, did you? We're gonna move to the Rotary corner right now, I believe.
No, well, let's move into Amaryllis because we are
okay.
15 minutes into the time.
Okay, very good. AG?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do appreciate the recognition every time you say AG, but for the purpose of the club, and so that I am sure that I am following very strictly the directives from our district governor, I am only AG as instrument of the district in representation of our interests. And in here, I am your fellow member and membership director, but just Amaryllis is pretty cool. So I just wanted to tell you that, because I was reading some things yesterday about AG's guidelines and things like that, and it only says it like 20 times. It's I don't know why it says it so many times, but it is stressed somehow that the use of the title has a scope of practice. Sorry, I guess I was studying a case this morning. My words are quite clinical today. So there are a few things I want to do this morning. I need to close the window one moment here. And the first one that I want to do is, we should do all together, really. But we need to do this. We need to sing my favorite song. Does anybody know what my favorite song is? No, my favorite song in this occasion has to do with the number 4.
No.
And it is our club anniversary. We are 4 years old during this last week, August 13th. So we're not gonna sing the entire song, and my fan is blowing my candles away, my little sparks away. But anyway, I want to congratulate us and all the other charter members that put all the effort into starting this club. It is Luz and myself anniversary of having become Rotarians. So I'm quite honored by that. And I particularly want to thank Diana and Kitty for all the effort of, just thinking about this, propelling it, and taking us all the way here with just a simple idea that there could be a group of people from all over the Caribbean that can get together, do Rotary, to do good in the world, the Rotary style. So thank you very much to both of you. Maybe Diana, if you want to tell us a little bit of story for those that are new, especially Howard and Brent, that didn't know exactly how we are here today.
Well, thank you, A.G. Amaryllis. And I don't want to eat into the time, so Sarge, please feel free to interrupt us if we're taking too long. But it did take a long time for the club to start. The idea of having an e-club in our district actually started in 2010. But at that point, there wasn't really a great deal of interest, and certainly there was not a kitty, because although she and I worked together, she was without doubt the driving force, and I think I might have given up before she did. It took us a year and a half. In fact, I think we probably broke some records in terms of we had our butterfly storybook project up, running, and pretty much completed for 1 year before we were even chartered as a club. But having said that, I think it was a great catalyst for the club, and to have that sort of central point that even when people were coming in, as Lou and Amaryllis both did, having never been Rotarians before, it kind of was a topic that they could really grab hold of and understand how Rotary was working and what kind of things we could do. But it did take a year and a half of a lot of hard work, and if it hadn't been for Kitty, it would never have happened.
Well, thank you very much. And Sarge, you sent me an invoice of $4 for Happy Dollars, and one extra, so that would be, and two extra ones, that would be 6, one for Diana and one for Kitty. So I am extremely honored, and like they say so many times, the life that changes the more is yours. And in my case, that is absolutely true. So I'm really happy for this Rotary thing that came into my life. So there are a few things. We are in membership month, and there are a few things that we discussed this week during a very interesting membership meeting. Can you hear me well? Yeah. One of them are what kind of things you want to see in our meetings to be covered, in terms not just of Rotary themes, but things for ourselves, like wellness things. Maybe we're interested in time management, or stress management, or relaxation. What added value, if there's any interest on that, just so that we know what kind of things we could add, so that your membership with us gives you more levels of satisfaction beyond the meeting and the projects. So like Diana and Lou, I think they call it last year, what's in it for us. So if there anything like that, I know that we will reach out later with some specific questions, but if there is something on that respect, that would be cool. Next week, I'm going to present a few ideas for banners, so that we can go ahead and decide on what banner, how our actual banner will look, so that when we go to other clubs, and since we are very interested in doing this, reaching out to the Terra clubs, so we actually have banners, and we can also have this same experience as every other Rotarian on the planet of exchanging the banners. And those will be yours. The ones that you gather, and maybe it would be cool to scan, and then we can have a page where we can display all our banners. One of the e-clubs that I met with in Atlanta, what they do, they actually print them in paper. They don't look as cool, but it's an alternative that we can consider. And a lot of clubs are putting them anyways. It's actually easier to put them on the banner, on the big holder, because all they have to do is double sticky tape, and they put it in there just the same. So we'll talk about that, see if you want to consider one or the other one. We talked quite a bit about the process of bringing in new members, and we have, I think we all know about the 3 visits and all those kind of things. But I just wanted to go a little bit more into what happens between the time after those 3 visits and when we actually present to the board, to the directors, candidates. So after these 3 visits, we have a conversation, the sponsor and the president, the secretary, myself, about what really is that we think that these candidates will bring to the table, if we think it is a good fit, if it's not a good fit, where can we find this person the right club for them, if we have an idea about those things. And more specifically, we go through an interview to review the 10 questions that I like to ask members or candidates before. So after we have the conversation, we meet with the candidates and we tell the candidate about Rotary International, about the foundation, about what we do, and we try to give them a really cool, upgraded Kool-Aid and see if they like it. And we leave the person with a few homework items. It's to go for themselves, because this is important. We are on an online club, and I want to see this disposition to go online and learn things on their own, because otherwise it's difficult to integrate the passion. So I go over online through Rotary.org, teach them where to see things, find things about the foundation and all these things. And then we meet a week after. So already now there is another week or 2 more weeks in between. So you see what is happening when all this time. And then we meet again and I see what the person has to say, if they like what they saw, if it was easy, do they have some questions about that? And then we go with these 10 questions. And the 10 questions are not like something that they have to answer. It's just like a script guide for me to carry a conversation so I don't miss anything. But it includes questions like, why are you interested specifically in this club rather than as opposed to any other club? Have you had the chance of visiting? I like to see a commitment to the foundation, because even if we're not invoicing, as we know, fundraising and having the ability to do things is extremely important for us. So would you have that extra bit of cash to give to offer to the club? In terms of time, I mean, would you be able to give the club 30 minutes every week, or an hour every 2 weeks, or what can we expect from you? And this kind of thing. So that probably is another week. So you see that we are now into the 3 visits, that's 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks. And then when we have this conversation with the sponsor is there as well, and we're happy with it, and the person just can't wait to tell us where the hell is my invitation, then I think that is the moment when we're ready to all of us move forward and present to the directors, and then we present to everyone. But by then we should be very familiar with the person, and it should feel natural, only natural that this person come to be a member in our club. So you see, it's not that we want to make it any more complicated. It's just that it should be the process of not just coming 3 times, but also us falling in love with each other, then with us, and us with our new family members. So just I think that when you're talking to a person that you think this person would be an awesome Rotarian, and what does it take, then you have a little bit more information that just tell them, you come 3 times to the club and then we're going to make you a Rotarian. So any input that you have into that is very, very welcome. And of course, each interview will go according to the style of the candidate and his or her sponsor. So it's really a really cool process to participate in. And I look forward to have one of these interviews with each of you. or at least to get us through our goal of 5 members, 5 new members. But really, I really want to have 5 awesome new members. And sorry, but the standard has been set really, really high with our first new member of the year, Roger. It's going to be really, really tough on that one. But I am sure that there's people out there that have this caliber and that we will be really delighted to have.
I'm waiting to see that. I would love to get someone half that caliber.
Yes. So any questions or comments on this?
I think this is absolutely necessary, and this process is I'm delighted that you are taking this, and I hope that we can hold to this process and not get panicky about, oh, we've got to get a new member and we'll bring them in. I do have a question, though. There will be some variation of this, I presume, if we are bringing in former or current Rotarians. Is that correct?
It is correct, but of course the teaching part or the new member kind of part, that wouldn't be. But we would still want to have a conversation of what is in your club that you like, that you think we can have. What did you not like about your club? And that kind of things that can really clear up a lot of the smoke in terms of expectations. I can hear you.
All right. I tried to, and we still want to get them to go online and get more on, because a lot of regular Rotarians that I know here on St. John have never been online. So they can't be a member of the E-Club without getting with the program.
And having the desire to learn, to be self-motivated and things like that. I mean, it's really important. And this thing of grow stronger and serve better, I think there's no other club where this becomes so angular to the success of our club. And this wanting to really know what we're doing and what else is it out there that I can do, that you go on your own and then you see someone in the street or something like, say, wow, I can partner up with this person, because on our own, we really are running our own leadership little committees, and we are influencers on our own. And our prospects for leadership are incredible, even more so than when you are on a club where everybody's in the same community and you have these layers and layers and layers of hierarchy that you think you cannot jump, which is also a perception that I wish we start to, in a educated way, we start to change, so that more people can really spring up into leadership and do what we want to do out there. So anyway, thank you, John, for your comments, and I just, please, yes, Roger.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll echo what John said without repeating it, but I absolutely agree with what John said. I will also tell John the final result was 4-0. But the thing I wanted to add was the question of the banners. I'm really very keen about this. So I hope we can come up with some solution. Diana and I visit other clubs quite regularly. We are often a bit of a novelty, and those clubs usually give us a banner. And in the past, I always used to keep a stock of Rotary Club of St. Thomas banners to swap. I think it's a very important part of the fellowship when you visit another club. So I do hope we can come up with a solution. Because in the last couple of times I've gone and not been able to exchange banners, but received one, I felt slightly uncomfortable about that. And I think it would be another part of bonding our club if we had banners that when we went to a terror club, that we could actually, it gives us a greater sense, I think, of permanence, of existence almost, if we can do that. So I look forward to seeing your suggestions.
Yes, thank you. I think this is really vital. I mean, we're not an E-Club. an e-club. We are a Rotary Club, but we meet online, and this is part of the Rotarian experience. And like Roger said, our visibility here, it's where we really tell people we are with all of us. We're not just out there because, I mean, what are you going to do? Send people to the website? Besides, nobody ever goes to any website, but go ahead, John, yes.
Well, Roger's right, and although he could print off our banner, our logo, whatever, and on paper and take it with him, I think it's very much in the mind that we don't exist if I can't touch it. So the physical banner to exchange is very, very reinforcing.
So I saw you, Brent. Along with that, and as part of strengthening our membership during this month, I am going to present a draft for a club brochure that we can print and give out to people, and as well as update those business cards that I like to use that say, "Be my guest." They don't have your name or anything, but you give them right there. You cannot tell people go to e7020.org and click in there. You really, you give the card the chances for someone to come and visiting us. And when you are out there visiting other clubs, you just don't give the banner, but here's where we meet. And you actually can give people, this is where we meet. With Terra members cannot do that. Cannot give them a little restaurant and say this is where we meet. But we can actually do this, and we should take advantage of what we can while we can. So that's where my head is with this thing. So like I said, any other items or ideas that you have that you think will help us strengthening ourselves and our way we market ourselves and things like that? I love to hear about it. Maybe when we present the actual pieces, which I will send to everyone before the meeting so that we can then talk about it.
Brent had his hand up.
Yeah.
Brent? Well, he had his hand up and then he had to go away.
Right. So I have one more item, and you're going to think that you are in deja vu, but you know, some things we need to say a few times before they actually click somewhere. Where
Yes,
well, I think it
hold on.
One thing is to propel ourselves to actually do something about it. And it is looking forward our 5th anniversary, which is going to happen. I think we are at the right moment to really start a serious conversation about establishing a fund, which is going to make fundraiser a lot easier because...
I'm coming, mommy.
Ah, sure.
No problem. Hold on.
Brent? How did that happen? I don't know because he's muted.
Yeah, I muted him. Go on, continue.
Okay. So
Brent has an emergency. He will. He'll be back maybe.
Okay. All right. So to establish a fund, I would like not to call it a foundation of any kind, so that we're clear when we're talking about a foundation or whatever, and also that it doesn't have the name Rotary on it, because that way it clears the way for us to use it for fundraisers. I mean, you can fundraise for this fund and what the fund does in collaboration with the Rotary Club also. That way we have opportunities open to more things, I think is what I'm trying to say. So I think I am going to ask kindly to a few people that I know have experience here. Roger, in how can we establish, and Roger, you pick your team and decide who you want to do these explorations with, and if you can give us something that we can consider. I know that we don't have a quorum for any kind of decisions, but I think the last time we talked about this, I did have a vote of confidence to move forward with this. So I'm going to sign it again, and it's yours, Roger, with that support that we did gather when we first talked about this, and it was really, really, really strong support. So the goal would be to start a conversation now, and I have two proposed dates that we can actually celebrate that we started. Either we're really good about this and things happen and the entire club moves forward kind of quick, and we can establish it on Foundation Month this year, which maybe it's too early, but or on our next anniversary, as a way of celebrating it. And whatever is that needs to be done, I will ask at the point in time some seed money from it. I'm gonna pledge $100, and if we can get other people to pledge onto the fund, and then Roger will have an idea more of what kind of money we need to start it and all these kind of things, so that we can go ahead and request pledges from the club. Yes, John.
I'm asked others if, because I don't know what your tax situations are, is there any benefit to those outside the United States for us to have a 501c3 arm?
Diana, can you?
Not in Canada.
Well, there is no benefit to anyone other than those who file U.S. tax returns. That's the answer to that question. But also, if we did consider going the 501c3, I would ask for volunteers to manage it, because I can assure you I would not want to do that. It's far too complex and far too time consuming. As John, you've had experience of it, so you know.
I know.
Roger, yes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Diana said, but I'd also add the fact that I think you've really got to decide whether it's worthwhile even doing it. If you are only talking about, when I say relatively small, if you're talking about people putting substantial sums, and by that I mean probably certainly in the thousands, if people are just dropping 100, 150, it's very useful, and obviously a combined group of that adds up to something can be quite significant, but it really isn't worth the effort of establishing it, maintaining it in good standing, and the work that would have to be done to do so, the returns you have to file, and the restrictions on what you can do with the money. I think you really have to be absolutely certain that the amounts you're going to raise and from whom make that whole thing worthwhile. I think it would be, certainly from at the start, I would be very surprised if that was worthwhile.
So exactly that. So maybe we can have a meeting conversation on these things, so that the thought is stop flying from, at least from my head, into if this is a instrument that is a fit for our club at this time in our development as a group. No, so thank you, Roger, and so I guess we'll hear more from you on this respect. Thank you. That's it. Today it's like the whole living room. It's not just the corner, but thank you very much. And I want to thank Lou and Camille for their time this week to have a good conversation. We met for an hour and a half, I think, and almost an hour and a half, and it was really interested. And I have to tell you that in Lou and Camille, you have two seriously committed fellow Rotarians, and I really, I am in good company with them. So thank you very much, and back to you, Sarge.
Okay, thank you, Amaryllis. I thought the presentation was going to be to the end of the meeting, but that's okay. I would like to now just recap or finish off our series on relevancy, remaining relevant. Last week, the last 2 weeks, I think I sent you all an email, and I'm going to try and pull it up here to recap what we said. But while I try and find that, I'm just going to share a video with you that gives an idea in practical terms of what happens when we don't remain relevant. All right, so just give me a minute, please. Let me try and locate it.
You had a company that has been valued at $50 billion, then they put a bullseye on the back of your head and they put a bullseye on the back of your industry's head. Yeah, it could not be fun sometimes.
On the hood of every yellow taxi in New York City is a small blue and white plate called a medallion. This is basically a license to operate a cab. And Gene Friedman is known as the Taxi King because he operates more cars in New York City than anyone else, roughly 1,000 of them.
My first two medallions were maybe 150,000 apiece in the late 90s when people just didn't want to be in this business. The prices, I think, got up to about 1.3 million for a corporate medallion at one point.
To those of you keeping score, that's an almost 800% gain. For Gene, it was good to be in the taxi game. But recently, a black cloud has formed over the industry. In 2014, Uber more than doubled its footprint in New York City. And since then, the average price of a medallion has shrunk to about $850,000.
I think Uber is a brilliant, fascinating, technology company. I don't think they're a good taxi company. I don't think they're a good limo company. I don't think that they're a good employer. I don't think they're honorable in the way that they do politics or they conduct themselves. Uber is circumventing regulation. There's a rule book that's 200 pages, right? Just for medallion owners that we have to follow. Everything from what the meter looks like, how you're supposed to work, what you're supposed to charge. If the regulations that were out there right now were enforced, then we'd be fine. I'm the operator. Nobody's going to operate better than me, and definitely not somebody sitting in Silicon Valley is going to know what's better for my passengers, my drivers, me, and the regulator, right? Better than me.
As much as Uber has changed the taxi industry, it's only one of Gene's problems. He borrowed heavily to expand his fleet, and in March, Citibank moved to foreclose on 90 of his medallions, claiming over $30 million in unpaid loans. He was able to reach a settlement on half of those, but 22 of his companies, which represent the other half, still had to declare bankruptcy.
The price of medallions. We have a liquidity problem. We have a liquidity issue. I'm in reorganization on about 22 of my companies. We need to change. Is there a universal app? Is there proper regulation?
Whatever strategy overhaul Gene can manage, he'll have to do it quickly. Over the last 2 years, taxi pickups have dropped from 14 million to 12 million per month.
I like a challenge. Since last summer, I ripped everything up and I'm rebuilding it from scratch. That's really exciting. I'm 44. I'm an honorary millennium. I used to have long hair, now I have short hair. I dress a little bit like hipper and cooler. And I think a lot differently. I'm thinking about what can I do. I always bragged that in my business, times are either awesome, excellent, or just very good. So I think we're on the bottom of very good right now.
All right, so let's stop right there. I'll just say that's the story of the New York cabs. And To recap what the video spoke about last week, or the first week that we started, when the speed of change around an organization is faster than the speed of change inside the organization, that organization becomes irrelevant. Everything is happening faster, therefore the tendency towards irrelevance happens at a quicker pace. And the person in the video before, he gave 3 recommendations for becoming relevant. The first is develop a lab mentality. That is always trying to experiment. Do not apply yesterday's solutions to tomorrow's situations. And the N was DNA, so the N, never ever stop learning. A growing organization or a club requires growing leaders. Growing leaders are learners. If you stop learning, you stop leading. And finally, A, acknowledge grief. There is no growth without change, no change without loss, no loss without pain, and no pain without grief. Change is constant. Allow the process of grieving to take its course and stop holding on to the loss caused by that change. So with those words, I think we can apply it to our club. And that was the reason for me starting the whole series, because I think it is important. We have grown to, I believe we're at 21 on our roll, Amaryllis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And moving forward, and you are speaking about leadership development, the foundation, that sort of thing. And I think in order to grow, we have to appeal. And that appeal will come from interest that we generate. And I believe somewhere in the club run, I read the starting words or the starting phrase that we're a vibrant club. And we need to maintain that vibrancy. We need to maintain, of course, the protocol of Rotary, but we also need to imbue that or infuse that with some vibrancy, as we have been doing. And hopefully this Rotary year, with the membership, we can grow, and develop. So that's it from my corner. I believe we have 10 minutes left. If there's anybody that wants to add anything to what we're saying, Amaryllis.
Yeah, so we can use maybe 6 minutes to quickly go around the room and continue on our celebration of our members, and talk about what is our unique gifts that we each can bring to the table so that our club can move forward in great ways. So who would like to start? Maybe you can also add something at which you are not that great. Okay, I'll start. I think I'm pretty cool at coming out with new solutions to all problems, or looking at things in a different way. Maybe because I was not a Rotarian for a long time, I tend to find another way of looking at it, and then I go and check, okay, but let me see what Rotary says about this, and I go learn that of my great idea, I can do this part of my idea. So I'm good with, I am a graphic designer. I'm pretty cool with that. I like it. I can learn things quick, but I am not so great at organizing my time to do all the stuff that I want to do. It costs me to go to sleep a lot of times at 3 and 4 in the morning. If I go to sleep, sometimes I don't, so that I can do what I said that I was going to do. So I admire that some of you are quite structured and organized, and that is pretty cool. So that's what I bring to the club and what I can offer. And I hope that I don't contaminate anybody with my time mismanagement. Next.
well, if nobody else will step in, I'll offer what I think I can bring is, and it's I've had the administrative experience in being a secretary many years and president of a club, and I've had also a lot of nonprofit organization experience in as a board member, chairman of a board, developer of the, as Roger noted, we probably don't need to be a 501c3, but I have created a 501c3 organization from scratch, and gone through the process and maintained it for a number of years. So I've got that kind of background. I do claim to be, after my years in the Navy, reading and memorizing some Navy comptroller manuals and teaching dispersing to students and becoming very knowledgeable about the applicable regulations and finding out what I could do and what I could get away with and what I couldn't. I know that very often my commanding officer would say, I want to do this, and I would say, well, let's see how we can circumvent the rules that say you can't do that. If possible, do that. So I guess I somewhat what the Navy calls a sea lawyer. I don't have any legal training, but I've got a good legal background.
I think it's pretty cool. And you don't have any defects, which I love it. See, I'm still have to try to work on being perfect, but that's pretty awesome. Right.
I've got defects. I'll turn this over to Diana because she's got the broader district experience, plus she knows a number of my defects.
Yeah, but I'm not telling John. I'm certainly not going to tell that you wrote an email to me this morning saying you'd hacked into a website. I'm not going to say anything about that. But I was impressed nonetheless. John and I are very similar, and I think, you know, we've discovered this over many years of working together, and that my talents probably lie in the back room rather than out front. I have I think a good organizational mind. Some people think I'm probably too organized, and because I do like to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and I struggle, as Roger will certainly confirm, with keeping my patience sometimes if if things are not detailed enough or done properly. So I guess that is my fault. But in my organization skills, I seem to come up with an idea a minute. That some of them are not good, some of them are okay. But one of the things that I think we need, perhaps as a club, to be sure of, and that is that if somebody comes up with an idea, it has always been Rotary's, I suppose, methodology that if someone comes up with a good idea, then they are asked to do it, be in charge of it, and carry it all through. But if you are someone who has lots of ideas, and I'm not saying I'm the only person that does, we have plenty of people like that, but they can't always then carry forward those ideas. So I think as a club, we need to just make sure that we get behind whoever has the suggestion, and that 2 or 3 people then provide that support. And that way we will create a little more camaraderie and within our membership. Working together is the greatest way to to really understand your fellow Rotarians. So that's those are my faults, I hope, and that's my little piece.
That's awesome. Thank you. Sir, do we have time for one more, or do we go over?
We have time for one more.
All righty.
Don't y'all put your hands up now. I think the difficulty is that
Not everyone at the same time, please.
yeah, I think the difficulty is that we don't like talking about ourselves, which is a good quality. And Bonita has stepped up to the plate. Go ahead, Bonita.
Woo!
Oh, yes. Well, basically, I think I'm a good team player. Once the idea is there, give it to me, and I'll be there to support you, to help me. But I really need something concrete, and then I'm just able to work on it. That is what I can bring to the club: support, understanding, and like Diana said, yeah, we have a lot of ideas, but yeah, make it more concrete. The 10 stories from the butterfly weight. So I know what to do. I'll read through it. I select it and I send it back. So I'm a supporter and I'm a helper, an assistant.
Yeah. Okay. All
That
right.
is
Well,
awesome.
thank you. Thank you, Bonita. I will end with me. I think I'm a big picture person. I work with visions. So you give me a vision and I work on achieving that vision. I'm not into the summaries and the details. So I guess the persons with the ideas can bring the ideas and then we see how it works into the big picture. My downfall is that I think too much, and I'll spend all night on an idea into the morning, and at 4 o'clock, eureka moment happens, and I start to write words. It's crazy. So for the projects and the visions and that sort of thing, I love to be brainstorming with groups. So that's what I think I love. All right. That brings us right up to the end of our meeting. I have apologies from Leslie. She had a very serious situation that is involving law enforcement. So we're wishing her well while that situation continues. I guess she'll give you more details on it as time goes by, but she asked me to mention that she's okay, but she's a little shaken up. All right. I think Brent had to leave. So I'm going to ask Lou if he could do the 4-way test for us and then end our meeting.
Okay. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is
Is
it
it
the
true?
truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to
Concern.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it
Will it build
better
better
friendship?
friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be
Beneficial
to all
or
concerned?
concern?
It will be fun.
It
will be fun.
To Rotary around the world.
Happy birthday!
Happy
You go.
anniversary.
What was your favorite song, Amaryllis? I didn't hear it. Okay.
Great meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Great
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Have a great weekend.